Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to talk about scaling your Facebook ad campaigns and the increments by which you should scale. Should it be 20% as is often talked about? Should it be a different amount? Should you scale in a different way altogether? That's what I'm going to be covering in this video. So if you've got a Facebook ad campaign that's performing well, or you hope it will be performing well in the near future, and you plan on scaling, I think this video is going to be very, very useful. Even if actually you've tried to scale and the campaign dropped off, you don't think you did it right, again, this video is going to be really useful. Before I get into it, I just want to very quickly ask you to smash that like button and of course subscribe to my channel if you are new and haven't done so already. Okay, so scaling Facebook ad campaigns. The 20% rule is what's talked about a lot. People will, I'm in an example ad account here. I've got a example campaign created, and we're at the budget setting stage if you're using campaign budget optimization, which is something I'd strongly recommend you do use, by the way. If you're not familiar with campaign budget optimization, how it works, I'll include a link in the video description below. But let's say you've got a daily budget, and again, that's actually, before I get into that, something I quickly mention, I would recommend using daily budgets over lifetime budgets in basically all cases. Very rarely am I going to run a lifetime budget. That's another thing. But let's say you've got a campaign, let's say it's operating £100 a day. A lot of people say, okay, you can now scale this by 20%. So you can take this from £100 a day to £120 a day, and that's absolutely fine. I wouldn't say that that is wrong, but here's the thing. The percentage by which you scale doesn't really matter as much as the actual real number increment by which you scale. It's one of those things where you can just throw out something like only scale by 20%. And it's quite easy for that to get shared around because it's just quick and easy piece of information that people retain, they share it with others, and it gets proliferated. Going from £100 a day to £120 a day is absolutely fine. Going from, let's say, £10,000 a day to £12,000 a day is probably a bit much. And going from £50,000 a day to £60,000 a day is definitely too large a scaling increment. Now, each of those numbers I've just given is a 20% increase. But what I'm getting at here is that the percentage increase does not matter as much as the real number. And what that means is that at higher budget levels, you cannot continuously scale by 20%. You need to scale by smaller increments. But likewise, at lower numbers, so at £100 a day, or $100 a day, or whatever, you don't have to go to 120. You could be more aggressive than that and go straight to 150. That's not a problem at all. And if you're currently spending, $20 a day, £20 a day, and you want to double it and go up to £40 a day, I haven't got an issue with that. So if you're operating with lower budget levels, you can certainly scale more than 20% per day. As that increases, you want to scale by smaller and smaller increments. And to show a scaling chart of exactly how I would approach it, again, I'll include a link in the video description below to a video all about how to scale a Facebook ad campaign and how to go about the levels. Now, part of the reason why you want to scale by larger increments than 20% when you're at lower budget levels, and you can, is because of how long you're going to want to leave it after you scale to scale further. So let's say I've gone from, let's go back to £100 a day, and I've gone up to £150 a day, okay, which is about the increment I would recommend at that budget level. I'm going to recommend that you wait 7 to 10 days after you scale before you assess the results and look to scale further. A lot of the people that advocate the 20% scaling rule would advocate going to 120 and then scaling again by another 20% to 144 or whatever, and then scaling another again to 165. You're doing that every day, every 2 days. It's too quick. Your campaigns are constantly in the learning phase. They can't reset. It'd be very difficult if you're going at that pace for you to work out, okay, that is the point at which I needed to improve my campaign because the results dropped off at, say, £160 a day. Whereas if we're going from 100 to 150 and we give it 7 to 10 working days, we can get a very good idea of, okay, how does the campaign perform at £150 a day? Does it still perform okay? Has cost per conversion gone up a bit, which is fine? Has it gone up loads, which is not fine? We need to make adjustments. You can answer those questions, which is very, very important to do. 7 to 10 working days after £150, 7 to 10 days after £150 per day. Okay, campaign's still performing pretty well. Perhaps your cost per conversion went up a little bit, nothing too drastic. Right, now let's go up to £200 a day. Same process, 7 to 10 days. Now let's go up to £300 a day. Now, if you're doing this in 20% increments and waiting the 7 to 10 days, it's going to take you forever to go from a small budget to a larger budget, like months and months and months, which is probably not something that you want to do, particularly if the campaigns are performing well. You want to take advantage of it. Get as many customers as you can. Of course, it's what we all want as businesses, to be as successful and as profitable as we can be. So that's how I would approach the scaling increment question. Larger percentage increases at lower budget levels. That should decrease and decrease and decrease at higher budget levels. If we're operating with £10,000 a day, we'd probably just go to £11,000. That's only a 10% increase in one go because we're operating with a much larger budget. And that makes sense, because if you think about, if you're spending, say, £20 per day and you go up to £40 per day, you've gone from reaching a tiny percentage of your target audience to a slightly larger but still tiny percentage of your target audience. You know, if you're looking to go from, say, £10,000 a day to £12,000 a day, which would be the 20% increase, probably a bit too large, you're going from reaching a good chunk of your audience to 20% more. The extra burden that you're putting on Facebook's shoulders of go out and find me an extra £2,000 per day worth of audience that's still likely to take my desired action is really tricky, and that's why you want to decrease as you go up. So 2 big things I want you to take away from this video is there's no fixed percentage rule. There's no 20% rule. It's a load of nonsense. That's great for people that operate in the world of Facebook advertising theory, but you try and do it in practice and you will see that at higher budget levels, when you try and increase by 20%, your campaigns drop off a cliff. We've seen it happen enough times to know that that is very likely. And at lower budget levels, you don't want to increase by 20%. It's going to take you forever to get to higher budget levels. You want to be take advantage of that. So there's no fixed rule. The second thing is that you don't want to be scaling every day or every 2 days or even every 3 days, especially after the iOS 14 changes where we've got reporting delays. We know that it's taking longer for data to come through, 7 to 10 days. You need to increase your budget, let your Facebook ad campaigns go through the learning phase again, let them settle at the new budget level, and then assess performance. Right, we were at £20 cost per purchase, we're now at £23 cost per purchase. That's still okay, that's still within our numbers, that's fine. Let's scale further. But if you go from £20 cost per purchase to a £35 cost per purchase, which can absolutely happen when you scale, by the way, guys, that might be a real issue. And that is something I should quickly mention before I end as well, is around scaling and around cost per conversion increasing. As you scale, it is basically inevitable that your cost per result, cost per conversion is going to increase. And that's because Facebook starts by targeting your absolute best prospects, like the 1 in a million people that are the best people. As you spend more and more, you leave the 1 in a million, you go to the 1 in 10,000, the 1 in 1,000, the 1 in 100, the 1 in 50. These prospects are still good for your business, but they're not quite the absolute best people because you're reaching more and more and more. If you think about it on a continuum, you've got absolute best prospects here, worst prospects here. When you're spending a tiny amount of money, you're only advertising to this little part here. As you spend more, you have to go further and further and further along this spectrum. That's just how it works, okay? Right, so if that's been useful, before you go, one thing I want to quickly mention is a free webinar I've created called 3 Killer Facebook Ad Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And I think you're going to find this really, really useful if you are wondering exactly how to approach Facebook ads for your specific products or services. There's no one size fits all. You need the right strategy for your business. And that's what this webinar is all about finding the right strategy for your business. You need a different strategy for selling $30 products versus $5,000 services. Obviously, but that's not what everyone teaches. That's what I teach in this webinar. So I'd recommend you go check it out, completely free. Link is in the video description. Be well worth your time, your hour 20 or so that it takes to go through it. Really, really would be. I'd recommend going through that. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more Facebook advertising related content, answering questions just like the scaling conundrum. And comment below to let me know. Comment below if you've got any questions about any of this. I respond to as many questions as I can, comments as I can, which is a lot of them. Can't quite get to them all, but I do see them all. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.